Welcome back. All right, so I just checked with our guest. She's having some technical issues. If you use any tech device, you already know that these things happen. So we're just going to, I don't know what to do, honestly, guys, while we wait for her to get here. I'm still kind of trying to get the hang of this whole video thing, but anyway, if okay, so we'll just wait for her to join us, I guess. And while we are waiting, actually, if I had to ask a question, what has been your most embarrassing technical glitch moment or most painful one? Um, I'll tell you one that happened to me literally 2 Sundays ago. I had this job application I had done, and they send you pre-screening. Uh, Hi, Tejas, welcome. While we wait for our guests, we're just sharing about what your most embarrassing or most painful technical glitch moment has been. And 2 Sundays ago for me, I actually had this job I had applied for, and they send you pre-screening questions that you had to do over the weekend. And oh, she's here. All right, I'm gonna have to finish this story though. uh Let's see. I hope it works now.
Um, okay, hi.
Hey,
Yeah,
hi.
I know
Oh,
my light is a little dim, but at least you're able to hear me, and that's what's important. So
exactly.
sorry for
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh no, it's okay. These things happen, right? Actually, I was trying to, while waiting, I was trying to share about one of my most painful technological glitch moments.
Mm.
And 2 Sundays ago, I had this job I had applied for, and they sent me some pre-screening questions that I was supposed to do over the weekend. I couldn't get to it because I wasn't feeling too well. And then on Sunday, about a couple hours before the deadline, I finally dragged myself into. My head was still pounding, but I figured, you know what, I'll just give it my best shot anyway. 5 minutes to the deadline to submit, I was done. All I literally had to do was move things around and then submit, and my computer froze.
Wow.
5 minutes to. And I couldn't get it back up. My husband is a techie. We did everything. We tried to shut it down. It won't go down. And 5 minutes or 10 minutes after the deadline had passed, voila, it just started working again.
Mm.
I submitted anyway. And then I said something about, believe me or not, the truth is from not feeling too well to having computer issues, this happened, but whatever. So anyway, these things happen, and beautiful as tech is, it sometimes can also be a pain.
Yeah, it can really.
Okay.
Thank you for having me today. I'm here and I'm ready to talk about the conversation we're having today.
Yes, thank you. And the conversation we're having today is the adult life of a sexual abused child. So, Ibifubara, a little background to how I actually found her is I reached out to Stand to End Rape Initiative, and it's an amazing organization that has been at the forefront of fighting for the rights of people who have experienced sexual violence in one form or the other, um, and they have a pool of volunteers and amazing staff that work with them. And when I reached out, and I remember I was saying this to you before, that when I reached out to organizations, STAIR wasn't the only one I reached out to, but their response was pretty impressive, and I really appreciated that. Thank you for being here, the Ope. And they sent you my way, and you've been amazing and easy to talk to and deal with. And I just want to appreciate Sarah for that, and I want to appreciate you for that. And I volunteer, and I know that volunteering takes a lot of time. Sometimes it might even take a lot of energy from you than even your paid job. Yeah. But to keep doing that, I appreciate that. So I just want to say, on behalf of everybody else who's ever been sexually violated, and for me, I've been in that shoe, which is why I do what I do. I just want to say, we want to say thank you for all the hard work that you guys do.
Yeah,
and thank you again for being here. Okay, so to our topic today, there was I probably would even start with sharing a story that I'm going to maybe have you help us unpack what was going on in that story as a way of helping people understand. Hello, Eto, thank you for being here. Uzi Jazz, thank you for being here. And but why we're talking about the adult life of a sexual abuse child is that people seem to think that if a child was sexually abused, that chances are that as they grow older, the memory of it fizzles out and then it won't really have any impact on them. Now, you can answer that question with, the question that I'm going to pull out of this story, and this is a true life story. So there was someone who, years after being abused, sexually abused, right? And her story was that she started experiencing hallucinations of the events. She started experiencing pain, physical pain that felt like she was back at that moment, and what was being done to her was being done to her. Thank you for being here, Mikal. And not only that, sometimes, hi, hi, neighbor. Oh, I'm guessing that's you. All right, and she would experience physical pain as if what was being done to her was being done all over again. It was kind of like an out-of-body experience where she would see herself lying there having her abuser all over again, and she would start crying uncontrollably, sometimes shaking profusely, and it was really bad. It was really bad an experience. Now, the question I want to ask, and this is something that happened to her when she was a child. Now she's in her 30s, and then she's here experiencing all this all over again. And truly, she had lived life for a while feeling like, okay, all of this is behind me. But then what exactly was going on in that place? And by the way, that girl in question was me. So what exactly was going on? And I know that it's something a lot of people have felt as well when they share their stories with me. And I just want to help them understand what exactly is happening to them in that moment.
Okay. So the thing with memory is, the thing with the brain generally is that it's a sponge. Like, it's not something that puts something in and it totally forgets it. Except in situations where there are special situations like that's a situation, do you understand, where people forget things. But with the brain, is like I said, it's a sponge. Whatever is put in, whatever memory, whatever, it absorbs, is taking water. So whether something happens to some when they're 5, 6, or whenever, like when they're young, as long as it is a traumatic event. Now, trauma comes in different forms. Like either you experience it yourself or you watch somebody experience trauma. Okay, as long as it is a traumatic event, as long as it's something that you were able to take in, and it wasn't pleasant. Let me put your memory. You remember pleasant things, but sometimes it's even easier to remember unpleasant things because marks in the brain. So sometimes things you take things in, like things happen and it feels like you forgot for a long time. But what happened there is just happen. Memories repressed a lot in human beings. Like they just enter there, and what they're waiting for is a perfect for them to come out and show that, okay, this thing is still in me, or this thing is still in my head. Okay, so sometimes not even as the memory of something that you know or you're aware of. It can be something as easy as seeing color that was that represents what happened that time. That you like, oh, okay, like this thing happened. Then if you sit down and analyze the situation, you could be like, oh yeah, I understand how it connects. Or sometimes you don't understand how it connects. Do you understand? So that's how the memory, just a sponge that soaks in. The brain is rather just a sponge that soaks in and it's waiting for the right time to bring good things back over and over again. So that's what happened to the little girl. You. So it's like these experiences occurred, but now you're adult, you're full grown and all of that. And well, something might have happened. Sometimes nothing happens even. You just have a reminder because you had repressed are ready to come and show itself, basically.
Okay. All right. So sometimes all those memories be repressed then, but then it always have its moments when it just kind of resurfaces.
Yeah.
All right. So I probably didn't mention this at the beginning, but Ibifubara is actually a psychotherapist, which is why we have her here to help us from a psychologist or psychotherapist point of view, help us unpack some of these things and help us really understand, because I do believe that if we understand the impact that actions can have today, actions of today can have on tomorrow, we would make decisions differently. We would pay more attention to our children. We would pay more attention to the things we do. You know, that person who allows themselves to go from one level of perversion to another would know that it's only a matter of time before they extend that perversion to an innocent child, and will probably make all these decisions differently. So thank you for that. So as a psychotherapist, let's now come back to you and the work you do and what that looks like. What does the job of a psychotherapist looks like, and how does it fit into helping people deal with sexual abuse?
Okay, what does the job of a psychotherapist look like, and what's the second question? How does this work?
How does it fit into helping people deal with things like sexual abuse?
Okay, what does a psychotherapist the job look like? The job is mainly giving. I will put it that way. It's giving and receiving. To be honest, it's giving a shoulder to cry on, but emotional shoulder. It's not like you're actually there, like your shoulder. So it's helping people figure out what might be going on with them. A lot of people come in and they don't know what's going on with them, but what they have to give to you now are the symptoms that they experience. They don't even know their symptoms. They just come in and saying, "Oh, this is what I'm feeling," and all of that. Now, your job is not to tell them to basically fix their issues. No, it's to help them fix their issues. So it's you guiding them. It's like you carrying a torch or something and telling them, okay, how about you do this, how about you do that, and let's see how it goes. And if it works out, then you get the answer to your issue or the solution to your problem. So mainly people's problems and the solutions to people's problems lie in them. Yeah. So you as the job of just to help them find it. Okay, so it's not like you going to say, "Oh, this is somebody does not just sit down and you're just like, oh yeah, this is solution to your problems." No, you don't do that. It's mainly you saying, "Okay, what are you dealing with, and how can we work together to deal with it together? How can we work together to arrive at a destination where you feel better emotionally, psychologically, mentally, which sometimes even is physically, because some physical things actually are emotional problems, just exhibit." So, and how I put that into helping people deal with sexual trauma. I basically specialize in trauma cases, to be honest. It's very interesting. Trauma can come in different forms, and it's nice to watch even. But I've noticed something with people with sexual trauma is that for a lot of people, it leaves them for a long time, and it comes back when they're adults, and it starts affecting their jobs and all of that. But what I do is I still use the psychological tools that I have, but what I do is we go back in time and figure out from the beginning, when it started, before it started, when it started, and after. Okay, what has been the pattern? What has been the symptoms? What have you done differently during the period of time? What can we do differently to help you if you're having flashbacks, if you're having nightmares? Like, how can we introduce new things in your life that will help you deal with the triggers that you're having? Yeah, so it's stuff like that. This is my psychological tool. So sexual trauma is not different. It's different from every other thing that I deal with, like as a psychologist, yeah, because you're not just dealing with depression, yeah, you're dealing with an issue that was caused mainly by another person. It's like an injury by another person. So you have to be careful not to make it the person's, not to make it seem like the person by themselves or something. Do you understand? So you have to be very careful and be very empathetic and be cater to the feelings of people, because at the end of the day they were on their own basically, and they were hurt by, especially by people they love. So yeah, so that's it basically. That's right.
Okay. All right, thanks. So I like the fact that you even said going back in time, because it really ties into the title for today, which is we're assuming that there's an adult, right? And then we're talking about something that happened to them when they were young. So one question that I think I want to ask in this is, I know we started with the story where I shared what some of my own experiences were with the flashbacks and whatnot. But overall, can you just kind of walk us through what are the common expectations that one can have for any, and it can, well, I guess it can be even for an adult too who was, sexually violated. But overall speaking, what are some of the very common traits that can begin to happen in the life of an adult that, was once sexually abused when they were kids? What are some things that can come up?
The very common things usually are depression, anxiety, flashbacks. The thing is that these are some things that happen. Okay, let me just break it down. Some things that happen are just symptoms of other mental illnesses, but sometimes these symptoms turn into full-blown mental illnesses that are because of what happened in the past. Okay, now with sexual trauma, it is usually it develops into PTSD after not being treated for it. Okay. Sometimes where we see people that they've just been abused like 2 weeks, a week, a day, and sometimes I wouldn't say it's easier, but sometimes like, okay, at least we can nip it, like we can start and be like, okay, it just happened, so we can start the process of treatment of treatment here. But when it's past a month now, it's no longer post-traumatic symptoms. It is now if it goes according to the DSM and the diagnostic manual, all of that, I noticed that it is full-blown PTSD, and now we have to start by treating PTSD itself. So things that you see that are common are flashbacks, anxiety, depression, anger, confusion, heightened hypersexuality or lessened sexuality. So basically, relationship issues, trust issues. Those are the things that are with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, that's a lot, and I can attest to the fact that, in all honesty, I think personally, and I'm sure a lot of people, would probably say that they check off some of those boxes themselves. And I guess one of it would definitely be the trust issue, relationship issues, but a good bunch of it, and even just the mental health piece of it too, right? All of those things I am pretty sure can be checked off on different people's lists based on their expectations that they had. So one thing is, so how then do you help an adult who okay, first of all, let me even ask, how common do you think it is, or do you find that there are adults who are beginning to experience these things, but then they refuse to undergo treatment? How common is that?
It's very common, because the thing about mental illness is that a lot of time people are not, first of all, there's a set of people that are in denial that they have mental illness, and not because they hate themselves or they don't want treatment, okay? But it's because of number one, accessibility treatment, where the thing is that there are private sectors and there are public sectors, obviously. And with the public sectors, it's very hard to get your psychologist. With the private sectors, how affordable can it be? You understand? So it's like, why go through all of that stress when I can pray it away, when I can just talk to somebody about it? And do you understand? So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's just plain they don't believe that what is affecting them is something from the. Sometimes it's just by not knowing. If we're growing up, a lot of Nigerians were not exposed to mental health issues and the knowledge of mental health issues, not just the issues, the knowledge of it. It's something it has become a buzzword now in Nigeria. I'm grateful for that. And obviously it has its side, like it has its disadvantage, but it also has a lot of advantages from that. But yeah, so it's very often I actually come across people like that are even angry at you, the therapist that wants to help. I don't take it the wrong way, because first of all, they're angry at a lot of things. They're angry at the people that hurt them. They're angry at the world for letting them. They're angry at the country for being in a country that you can't even do a lot of things legally. Okay, you can't pursue a lot of cases legally. So that in itself is frustrating. So I often I a lot of people like that. There are some people that they just want people to go to jail, and they look at the circumstance. I can't even take the person to jail. So what's the point of doing anything else? So they back away from mental health
Mm.
So yeah. So the thing is that the environment people find themselves. You know, I deal with people in Africa, maybe, yeah, and some people from
Mm-hmm.
outside Africa. But the difference people from in Africa and the people from the Western countries is that in Africa, the environment community is not so it doesn't help your case. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying. Yeah, the environment is not so good.
Yep.
It's not you can get help, you can speak to a psychologist, you can do all of that. But you're going back to an environment that's not so good, and a legal system that is not ready to cater to your needs, hospitals that you can be judged for going there to get tests done, family
Mm.
not so supporting. So all those things are supposed to aid mental health treatments. Okay, you're not just supposed to see
Mm-hmm.
a psychologist, you're supposed to also have a system backing the psychologist, and without that system backing the psychologist, it can be very pretty hard on the people getting help from mental health professionals. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's right. Thanks, and I really appreciate. I this is wasn't exactly even planned in the question or anything, but I like how you helped us even link it to the mental health piece, because those are two key areas that I speak about, because I also know that, I mean, I'm not the psychologist here, but as someone who had been in the shoes of, dealing with, and I'll say maybe still dealing with, some of these experiences, I do know that sexual abuse works hand in hand with mental health. All
Yeah.
right. And so I really appreciate that you're able to help us, tie that in, and even just how the system
Yep.
can
So
impact, yes, how the system can impact progress for people who are trying to, just
yes, help.
move forward,
Mhm.
in their lives. So thank you very much for that. And so in all of this, that happens with an adult, starting from childhood and everything. At what point would you say that, is there a time that is best to start to have these conversations? um, and the reason I ask is, I know there are adults who may remember that as kids they had tried to have the conversations before and it didn't work out. And so, back to the point of, some people just live in denial or they're frustrated with, and part of the system that we're talking about is also family support, right? So, but at what point would you say that, is it safe that people let themselves get to a point where those emotions start to want to find their own expressions before they do something about it? Or will they help to actually take proactive steps, to say, okay, you know what, this happened in my life and I don't know yet how it's really impacting me. I'm not having PTSD yet, or I'm not having anxiety or whatnot or depression yet, but maybe at some point it might happen. I
Mm.
should get help. Is that something you would recommend that people do? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, does everybody who has been abused, is that person like a ticking time bomb that those emotions is just a matter of time? It will resurface. And so it's important that we don't wait till then, get help before you get to that point, or should we wait until and hope that it would never resurface?
Okay. Okay. The thing about mental health, I like answering this question because of how mental health, I said, is a buzzword now, and the knowledge of it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is about taking time for mental health is that not everyone is the same mentally. Meaning everybody can one like they can go through the same thing of sexual abuse by the same kind of person, all of that. But because your brain is not the same as another person, because your life is not the same as the other, you will not get
Mm-hmm.
outcome as the other person, and that's the beauty of mental health. And yeah, and also a little, that's why it's a little hard. But not everybody is going to exhibit the same symptoms. Not everybody is even going to exhibit symptoms at all. Not everybody is going to develop PTSD, but some people will, and most people in that category actually. So that's the thing. The thing is that prevention is always better than cure, whether in physical health, mental health, emotional health, whatever. Preventive medicine. That's why preventive medicine is now like a thing where people are trying to do, and it's what I'm trying to look into even in Nigeria, and I hope I'm that. But it's very
I
good
really,
for mental health, because you don't want to get to the end when the person is exhibiting some kind the symptoms that are when it's gone too far. Like I told you that sometimes it starts with symptoms, yeah, before it's that the disorder. So when it's just symptoms, when it's not started to show, it's best to start speaking to somebody about it before it gets to that point, because a lot of people are repressed. Even the people that it never shows in their lifetime that they went through that, yeah, a lot of times it's just repressed emotions that are sitting there waiting for the right time to blow up. You understand? So before
yeah.
it does, it's best to speak to a psychologist about it. That's why we need to talk to people that have gone through it. Like, okay, you don't have to be having nightmares yet. You don't have to be having flashbacks yet. You don't have to be. In fact, some people don't even hate their abusers. Some people don't avoid men. Some people live normal lives afterwards. Does not mean that they don't need to see psychologists. Like people need to know that mental health is not about just when it's gone to the other spectrum that regarded as bad spectrum, or the spectrum where people feel bad about things, or gone off. It can also be when you feel absolutely normal after trauma has occurred. That also is an issue, that you feel absolutely normal after trauma has occurred, because trauma is supposed to have a shift in your psyche. So why are you not reacting to it? So that's why it's safer, no matter what, as long as you afford, just go and see a therapist, or if you not afford, somebody about it. But let it go one way or the other, because even the burden of carrying it on the shoulder, even the burden of carrying it in the heart, can actually do some for somebody's mental health. It can actually and it will come a lot of, yes, I would just say yes, a lot of them are a lot of people are ticking but like ready to explode, and might never explode, might never get to that point, but it's definitely safer to prevent any form of psychological issues before they show up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know definitely I exploded. I know I did. Part of it was getting suicidal. Part of it was, yeah, it was bloody. But I'm just really grateful that, I had my, let's say, Eureka moment of, okay, I have to find a way to rise above this, or it will literally be the death of me. And yeah, I don't know, but some of us, we like life, and haven't tried to end it before. We're like, okay, no, never again. All right, because it's a lot of hard work. Anyway, that's not what we're here today. So thank you very much for that. So we can really be ticking time bombs, and it's important to know. And the reason I asked this question is because if we look at generations before us, I'm talking about our moms, grandmoms, I remember there was this one thread I saw on Twitter once where a lady was sharing about how she confronted her mom with an experience where she was abused by, I think, an uncle or someone in their house, in the family. And the mom broke down and started crying and said, I should have protected you better. I should have known better, and whatnot. And it turns out that she herself, the mom, had experienced sexual abuse when she was a child. I don't think I ever heard people from that generation talk so much about these things. Even now, it's still a conversation that we're trying to bring to the foreminds of people, which is why for me, I talk about undoing that culture of silence, because one of the first steps to dealing with an issue is to validate that it did happen or that it exists. As long as we keep living in the denial of the fact that, sexual violence is an issue in our society, we would never bring ourselves to the point where we're willing to deal with it, right? And so you see people in that generation, they seem like they had a happy life, they had good marriages, and I'm placing emphasis on the word "it seems like," right? Because the truth is, when you even start to unpack some of all those relationships, then you start to see that it wasn't all as rosy, as it seemed. For instance, like the case of that lady that was sharing, right? And so, which is why I asked the question, because even with that generation, that has also, that experience of them feeling like, well, I went through this, and then I went through life and I was okay. And so you don't have to talk about it to get better. And I think that maybe that mindset, and you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I feel like that mindset may have also contributed to feeding why people would choose to keep silent and do nothing about it rather than open up and seek the professional help that they need. Is that something that you think that you'd agree with, that may have, fallen into that as well? Uh-oh, did we lose you?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Okay. Oh, well, it's well, okay. So I was just talking about the fact that, the generation before us, some of them went through the same experiences, never talked about it, never dealt with it. And then it seemed like they had good life. And so there's that expectation, there's that unspoken expectation that, you don't have to talk about it to get better. And I'm just saying that it's possible that that also has fallen into why, it's hard for us to have these conversations around trying to deal with sexual abuse and the impact that it eventually comes back to have on us, later on in our lives.
Yeah, definitely. The former generation and the way and their approach to sexual violence issues really took a toll on this generation's mental health. Then this generation's approach also, yeah, because they I don't talk when they talk about the previous generation and their approach. While it's very easy to blame them and talk about what they would have done right and all of that, it's also, culture changes, society changes, and what they see then is what they carry and all of that. But I would say that it's also good to own up and be like, okay, they actually, in a way, messed up even. But it's because of how it was viewed then. What we actually owe ourselves is not to be like them, okay? Because that fake lifestyle of everything is well, hush hush, stay inside, don't tell the world about blah blah blah, has cost a lot of people their lives, especially women. Has cost women lives, of course men their lives, because suicide, same sexual violence, women died. Yeah, it's a lot of things that have been, a lot of things. So we can't afford to be like that. We can't afford to be silent, or we can't afford to show the world a kind of fake life and be like, oh,
Yeah.
everything is well and good, when everything indeed is not well and good. We're still experiencing a lot of sexual violence right now, and it hasn't necessarily like increased or whatever. It's just been brought to light. So I'd say the previous generation, they did what they could because of how it was then. It's the society that is the people that make the society. So what was happening then? There was a lot of silence, a lot of hush hush, a lot of wow, this thing happened to. That's why sometimes people tell their parents at 30, oh, this thing happened to me. They'll be like, and you see mother saying the same thing happened to them, and it's a personal thing going on and on. But what we have to do now is to stop it now. The thing with sexual violence is that you can't necessarily stop somebody from harming somebody, but what you can do is is teach people now that are growing up not to harm. Try to imbibe it to them that, well, men, you don't have control over people's bodies. Women, you don't have control over people's bodies. People are there for anybody else. So you cannot harm them anyway, whether psychologically,
That's right.
you can't do it. Another thing we can do is also teach people, because those people can almost never be eradicated. They can be reduced, yes. So what we can do also is also equip ourselves, equip our children to be able to handle situations like that. So one, equip in different ways, physically, in terms of pepper spray, going to karate classes, self-defense classes, all of that. And also a way of if teach children things like their body parts and what to do in case somebody is trying to harm them or somebody is being funny with them. Teach children the exact names of things. Okay, it's very good. Then also learn the culture of talking, speaking, being confident. Sometimes you don't even have to teach them the thing first. It's just the confidence, child being confident, that they'll be like, yeah, I can trust my parents to be able to tell them that somebody else is happy.
Yeah.
And that is also enough to an extent, and that will help help the culture of silence to be reduced a lot in this generation and the next.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they do better than we do, because there's still a lot of work to be done with
I
this
agree.
present situation.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You actually even answered some questions that I had about what we can do, from the perspective of, even how we teach the children, or how we teach the children of today and help them so that tomorrow they're not, in their 30s. I don't have my daughter coming to tell me one person did something to me, and that's one perspective in what we can do to one angle of what we can do to help protect today's children from experiencing things that tomorrow will come back and impact their lives. The other thing that I also wanted to ask you to help us, maybe this will take us back a little bit to things like some of the symptoms that we experience that starts to manifest itself in the life of an adult. So we talked about PTSD and what some of those, what that looks like. And we talked about some other things like anxiety, depression, and whatnot. So let's say there's somebody who is not yet ready. They don't feel ready yet to see a psychologist about their situation. People like me, I have never seen a therapist. Sometimes I still question if I need one. But we're not ready to be in that space yet, right? But then, when I was having those flashback experiences, at first I did not know what it was. All I knew was after a while, I didn't want to go to sleep because I have nightmares, and I didn't want to wake up because I'd have this flashbacks and hallucinations. So it was a deadly, it was a very painful situation and time in my life. And I didn't know what I could do. So someone in that space who may or may not know that this is what they're experiencing, but then they just need to, at least in the immediate time, get some sense of comfort or relief. What can they do?
Okay, what can they do? Okay, let me just do
Yeah.
this, especially when it comes to flashbacks and all of that. Okay, the thing is that there are like preventive methods when it comes to flashbacks. So number one is being aware. They don't necessarily work out for everybody, and that's why it's not like medicine. Okay, it's like medicine. I mean, it doesn't work for everybody. So it's like, think about it like that. So being aware of warning signs is a very effective method. Even being aware of warning signs, what it is that causes your flashbacks to come. Like, do you see, like I said, do you see particular colors and you realize, you start thinking about the experience? You watch certain movies before going to bed, and when you watch those movies, you have nightmares. Do you think to this person, or a person that reminds you of this person, is going to give you nightmares, or you're going to have flashbacks because of that? It can be things like going through the road where it happened, where the incidents, the sexual abuse incidents happened. It can be it can just be a movie. It can be a color. It can be an event you go for. It can be a towel. It can just be anything. As long as you're aware of that thing that causes the warning sign before the nightmare, or before the flashback, or before the symptoms arise, anxiety arise. Being aware of it is very important, because now that you're aware of it, you can try to take away those things from your life, even if it's temporary and permanent, just for some time, until you see a therapist and until you're better, because the therapist will give you other things to add to it. Another thing is identifying identifying triggers. Basically, what triggers you is almost the same thing. Warning signs, triggers, identifying what experience triggers flashbacks, basically. So is more than objects. It's now more of experiences. Is eating at a place causing flashbacks. Is dancing at a certain place, going to the club, is going to your parents' house. It's doing things like that, hanging out with certain kind of people. Is it causing trigger? Is it triggering these emotions? Is it triggering flashbacks? Is it triggering nightmares? Try to cut off those things from your life. But you're seeing somebody walk through the issue with you, then just avoiding triggers in general, way to do that. But peradventure the flashbacks happen, you're in it, you're experiencing flashbacks and the anxiety issues and all of that. So the first thing to do is just when you're having a flashback, first thing is telling yourself that you're having a flashback, or that it is a flashback. It's very important. Just saying, I know what is happening. I'm having a flashback. It's not real. Try to ground yourself. Call it grounding. Like just ground yourself. Okay, I know I'm having a flashback. This is not real. Even when you wake up from a nightmare, that was a dream. It was a nightmare. It's not real. I'm not experiencing this again. It's very good so that you will know that this thing that happened to you was in the past and not something that's happening to you right now. Because things happening to you in the present can also trigger more anxiety issues. So that's owning it. And the other thing is breathing. It's very important to know a technique. So go on the internet, find a breathing technique that works for you. If one doesn't work, try a second, try a third one. Breathing techniques are very, very effective. So just the thing is that with mental health techniques, mental health tools, don't be afraid to try different ones at the time. It's very good that you're aware mentally of what works best for you. So don't be afraid of trying different things. So if this one's not working, I mean, try another one. Breathing techniques are a lot. They are different on the internet and they're really good. So just go to a trusted website and just find one. Then being present with the 5 senses, something that also works. Being present.
Being present with the 5 senses, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Returning to the present, being present, returning to the present with the 5 senses. So if you're having a flashback, you can start rubbing on your thighs or somewhere in your skin just to feel the sensation of you being present. You're here, or focusing on a certain thing in your room. For instance, you can focus on the lamp, just to know that you're here with the lamp. You can focus on somebody else that is in the room, just to know you're there with somebody else. You can focus on something that you know brings you peace. It can be your television. I like watching shows. So focus on that and make sure like something is on and you're watching it and seeing you're in the present. So the 5 senses, anything. I know some people that it's effective for them. They just sniff socks, or like not so dirty socks, but dirty socks. It helps ground. It brings people back. It can be socks, it can be perfume. Just sniff things that will help you come back to be like, okay, I am here, I am present. Some people taste salt, taste sugar, taste something. Something, just a taste of being. You're using the sense of taste to know that you're back in the present. You're here. And you're not where you were sexually abused. You're here in the present and you're away from that. Then the last thing is just recognizing what makes you feel safer. That's very important in mental health because support systems are very important. Safe spaces are very important. It is not overrated. It's something that, other than your therapist, you need to find a safe space. You need to find safe things that make you feel safe. So whether it's going to your family's house weekly, monthly, whatever, for your safe space, that's good. Just recognizing what makes you feel safe and doing it. So when you feel a flashback coming, when you feel like I've just gone through call up that friend that you feel safe and talk to the friend about it. Watch the show that makes you feel cozy. Use the blankets that makes you feel good, feel warm. Yeah, anything that's your safety magnet, like whatever makes you feel safe. Anything, don't be shy to find anything. As long as it is not a psycho substance, as long as it's not alcohol, as long as it's not drugs. Because what alcohol and drugs do is give you a fake sense of safety. It gives you a fake sense of you're okay, which, to be honest, it's a high. It comes down and you're going back. But finding things that are there permanently and can touch and feel and all of that is very important. So yeah, those are ways that you can help yourself if you have flashbacks or nightmares and all of that.
Well, thank you. Maybe I do need a therapist. Because imagine if I knew all this at the time, maybe I would have. And you're right, because I did get into some addictions that became, a problem in itself to deal with. Because I thought that this made me feel good. It made me feel safe, right? But then When it was all over, now I have addiction issues to now also deal with, and I know that for a lot of people, that seems to be like the cycle, all right, and everything. Maybe I'll confess that maybe a part of me maybe is trying to come to terms with, maybe I should see a psychologist. I don't know. Anyway, I will get my convictions sooner than later. But anyway, and I guess maybe I'll ask that question. I was going to ask what we can do overall, or the steps that we can even take, as in our adult lives to help us get better as well. If it's different from this 5 tips, coping mechanisms that you already gave, feel free to just add on to it. But if it's pretty much the same, that's okay as well. But for even some of us that feel like, I think I'm over this, I'm getting over this, I'm getting more comfortable talking about it. Do you think we still need therapists?
Yes.
I'm really trying to convince.
Okay. With the mental health, it's very easy to get somewhere and be like, yeah, I'm fine. It's like, okay, I always try to use the physical, because people are used to physical treatments, yeah. So how people take malaria drugs, and on the second day they're like, yeah, the fever is gone. I don't have anything. That's how mental health issues are. So you've taken some steps, you feel better. Sometimes you're not even taking steps. You just have this feeling of, yeah, I'm in a better place. I'm not in that place
I'm
again.
better. I can do this.
It's, if you don't walk through your issues, it can just be one day that you have an outburst. And it might be too much. You just need your one overwhelming feeling away from having a mental health breakdown. Okay, everybody, a lot of people are one overwhelming feeling like away from having a mental health breakdown. It can be as little as just somebody poking you, or like, tapping you, like, oh, don't do that, and like you just go back to where you were one time, and boom, you burst. And that's a problem. You don't want to have mental health breakdowns regularly, because the more mental health breakdown somebody has, this strain it keeps pulling on, like it keeps deteriorating their mental health. It's just a strain they keep having. There's a strain on the mental health, and that's not good at all. So yes, no matter how much, don't let the feeling of getting better, especially when you've not seen a mental health therapist before, or you've not gone through the journey. Let me know who's gone through the journey, because it's one thing to see, is another to go through the psychotherapy journey before. It's easy to have this feeling of getting better, which isn't it sometimes. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Really. And sometimes, we it's not like we don't even want to help ourselves get better. In all honesty, sometimes it's just the ignorance of it too, right? And which is why I thought that this would be needed, and I'm really glad that I'm really glad that we're talking about this in particular, and that, I'm hopeful that, someone finds this useful and take the necessary step, myself included, to find the help that they need to get away. And I think you got me right there with the malaria analogy, because I used to be that kind of person. I don't get malaria being in Canada, but I mean, while I was still in Nigeria, I was very guilty. You take the tabs day 1, day 2, you feel, even here I do it with other medications that I've had before. Day 1, you feel better, and then the next day you're like, oh, please, I'm good, I'm all good. And sometimes you have a relapse, and sometimes, you might still be okay, but you know that you're struggling to just get through. So yeah, I think you had me at that analogy. So as a wrap up, I really thank you. It's been eye-opening, it's been really nice, it's been really engaging. So as a wrap up, just help us understand, to any adult watching right now who know that they were abused as a child, please just in your wrap up, help them walk through what steps they need to take overall. What steps, what should they do to get to the point where they have to, and also maybe emphasizing on the need for them. Well, we've talked about all of that. So the need, part of the reasons why it's important that you get better, one of it that you just mentioned was the strain that, you put on your mental health. All right. But, just what are the steps that they need to take to get to that place where they know for sure that they're getting well?
Okay, I'm just going to speak to two sets of people. Basically,
Mhm.
I'm going to speak to the adults that it has not happened to yet, because some
Mm. Mhm.
of the teenagers who might be watching, or people that might know somebody yet. So, in order to
Mm.
what might come in, so let me speak to them first. The first thing to do when this, sexual abuse occurs, please and please, there are more centers that are open now to cater to these.
Mhm.
So the first thing to do is not wash up and all of that, but try to get to a medical center where you can do tests and all of it. It's very important. One, for legal proceedings, and two, just to make sure you're all right and you've not got, like, you've not been affected by anything in general.
Mhm.
That's number one. Two, try to be with somebody that you feel safe with. It's very important that you somebody, because those people, minutes after, those hours after, can be very, very tasking on the brain, can be very, very fragile. Even it's
Mhm.
points when you ask yourself a billion questions. Why was I there? Why am I there? Why was
Mm.
it me? Why wasn't it me? Questions you should be asking yourself on a normal day, but because somebody
Yeah.
came into your safe space and tried and took something, and and tried to harm you and did something that was not right to you. So it's not your
Mhm.
fault. Somebody came and someone hurts you. So it's not your fault at all. It's the person's fault. It's all on the person that harms, and not on you, because you were the
Mm.
survivor, you're the victim, and now the survivor. That's kind of, yeah, for people that you might know somebody that is going through that or just went through that or anything, try to be supportive. It's very important that you're supporting that person. Do not try to impose your own do not try to impose your own beliefs. Do not try to impose your own treatment method or your what you want to do on them. Let them make decisions. Try to be
Mhm.
a shoulder basically for them. And yeah, if you know things like centers they can go to, all of that, Google. Google is your friend. It truly is your friend.
Mhm.
Speak to
Yes,
psychologists
it is.
online. Um, yeah, there's information everywhere. Try to get the information
Yeah.
and do as much as pay for session for the person just to get better, even if you can't talk to the person yourself. So that's good. Then for the people that are going through it, that maybe when they were younger it happened, or a teenager it happened, and you've not seen the therapist, for instance, it's okay. It's about to do that. There's never the wrong time to do that. Okay. The first step is trying, if you want to see a therapist, try to find one that's best. Don't just jump into it. It's not easy. It's not easy. A lot of people find therapists because of cost and all of that. But be open to trying therapists, different therapists, until you find the one you like, or researching
Mm.
before you try the therapist, in case you have maybe limited funds or limited emotional time to spare. To be honest, try
Mm.
to research therapists first before you go to them and see them. Has this person done work like this before? Will I feel safe?
Mm.
What kind of work has this person done? And will I feel safe with the person? Look at the person's beliefs, ideas. Just Google the person. Try to see all of that. You're not alone. You're not the only one that's gone through what you're going through, and it might seem that you are alone. So you can find out support groups that can help you in times like this. It's very important to have people that you want, just to share your experiences, get advice on how to go through it together, because
Mm.
sometimes people that can give you the answer to your problems or your issues or to what you've gone through are the people that have gone through, and not necessarily people that have not gone through it themselves. So that's like the best thing to do, to go through things like that. Also, research is very necessary. You don't have money yet to get to a therapist. I mean, go on the do not diagnose yourself, please. It is not advisable to diagnose yourself. But if you feel a certain way and you're not able to, there are mental health professionals online that speak to people for free for the most common things like anxiety, depression, all of that. Try to talk to them and see how you can do it. I know there's something like mentally aware NG for Nigeria. I know there are different ones in Canada, America, and all of that. Speak to
Yes.
them. Just
Mhm.
search on free counseling. They're not really therapists sometimes, just counselors, just to speak to them, say this is how I'm feeling and this is how I can do
Mm.
I go about it. Yeah, so that's how to go about the first place. You're not alone, and instead of waiting for it to show that, okay, this was what I went through in the past, it's okay to actually start now and talk to somebody about it. You can also start small. Please pace yourself. It's always important to pace yourself. I always tell, instead of jumping into just going to see somebody, no, you can start by talking to somebody you trust. It helps a lot of time. Just somebody you trust about, or someone went through it with, or yes, number one, you can even start with your mother, or if your parents is not understanding, a sister, a friend, anybody, or you can even not write it down. Sometimes it's easy to anonymously write. Start from your journal or audio. Like you can just write it in audio, or you can write it, open a Twitter and anonymously write it somewhere and see your story can that person, or that person can reach out and be like, we can offer help. So you don't know where help can come from.
Exactly.
So releasing yourself and pacing yourself is very important. So start small, pace yourself, then work up to researching about the therapist, then eventually one. If you can't afford it, see free ones at first until you can save up to afford the ones that you actually want. So yeah, that's it. It's just never too late. You're not alone, and you will you will definitely go through the healing process and get to a place where you feel like you are grounded, you're in tune with yourself, and you don't feel as bad as you used to feel before. Therapy works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Really, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is why I bring in people to talk about it, because I know that other than the experience that I have, and maybe whatever little I have done, on my half doses that I have taken to help me feel better, there are pieces of it that, experts like you understand that, and the sciences behind it that we might never fully understand on our own. And I do believe that, somewhere between experiential knowledge sharing, and the professional knowledge sharing, working hand in hand, I do believe that it would help pull a lot of people out of that. And if there is one thing I'm super even grateful for that you're helping people remember and understand, is that they are not alone. That is very key. The more people that find out that, what you're experiencing isn't unique to you, the easier it is to even start to want to, take the steps to open up and get the help that people need. And for me, I'm not even at that phase where I kind of like share everything in details either. But it's to your comments about, to your point about, pacing yourself out. It honestly works. It's helping. The more I talk, the more I deal with, talk to people, the more I write about it, the more I share, the more I find that I'm starting to get comfortable, in talking more. And when I get the feedback from other people saying, oh my God, thank you so much for sharing that, it really helped me, I've been there as well, that also adds to, encourage us all. And I just want us to keep working together to do that. So can you help us understand, so if someone wanted to say reach out to Stand to End Rape, is that something, I don't know if you can speak to say, how does Stand to End Rape help people? And how can they reach out to get help from that organization?
Okay, Stand to End Rape on every social media platform is Stand to End Rape. Stand to Initiative. Or you can go online on Google. Just Google it. There's a whole website for it. Okay, so it's and what Stand to End Rape provides is both psychological help and legal help to people going through that, to survivors of sexual abuse, sexual violence, basically, or domestic abuse in some cases, because sometimes these things go hand in hand. So whether psychological help, legal help, and sometimes financial help for some cases, it is being provided. So Stand to End Rape, Google it. It will come out and the steps to go by it. So if you want a psychologist, you will just fill a form and help will get to you. So go to the website. There's a form where there's a part where it says you should report a case. Go to that part and standtoendrape.org. Go there and it's pretty simple. Just fill a form and whatever you need, whether legal or psychological, will be provided to you.
All right. Thank you. So people, I hope that you share that website. I hope that for, if you know someone who you think might need this help, please feel free to share with them. I just want to say thank you again to Ibifubara
You're welcome.
She's, do you go with IB for short?
Yeah, but I like Ibifubara. I like Gomi.
Okay. No, the reason I ask is I have like 5 cousins from the same family, and they all start with EB something,
Yeah.
and they all go with
Same.
IB for short. So we do IB1, IB2. Anyway, I love them. I don't have a Calabari name. If you guys are wondering, when I said earlier that we're from the same place, it's Calabari Kingdom. It's a really beautiful place. We have the best culture, best food. I get to brag. I have bragging rights. Wow. All right. So yes. So thank you so much, Ibifubara. I really appreciate you being here. Again, thank you for the work that you do, volunteering with the Star Initiative, and thank you again to stand2endrip.org. I really hope that our paths cross again soon, and we're able to have more conversations. If there is any way that we can help, I think I came across something on Stairs website that talks about sharing some call out for survival stories. Maybe I'll reach out to them on that and share something. We'll see how that goes. So thank you so much. And unless you have anything to say.
No, it's fine. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I enjoy sessions like this. I enjoy speaking about things like this. It's really what I'm passionate about. So yeah, thank you again.
I can tell. All right. So thank you guys for joining. You guys are the real MVPs. For those that will still watch this later, thank you so much. Don't forget to share it. You never know who needs it. And you're not alone. Together, let's keep on doing the culture of silence. Thank you, IB. Enjoy your evening. I will try and go and enjoy my afternoon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Take care.